guys. Noah, Drew, and John, and Keefe. We've got a pretty wide range of people here today. What I want to try to do is cover as many bases as we can. Let's just talk about what we did right here. We got a common form called the blues form. It's 12 measures of a certain pattern of music. All three of us come from different backgrounds. So if you're getting together with someone for the first time, how do you communicate with them? What's the common element that you look for? So what I have here, a couple points, is first thing you want to do is be humble. And check your ego at the door, because when you get together with other people playing, you really don't want to be too egocentric.
And you never know, because you might be the one getting schooled.
That's right. That's right. Also, too, if you notice when we did this simple format, it's a 12-bar blues. There's a couple ways you can play it. The first way we played it was just straight through, and we did some breaks in between. Joe did a solo, and Noah did a solo. But we're always being good listeners. We're taking cues off of what he's doing. Noah said something. I knew exactly what to do when Joe took a break. He did some stop time. So if he's playing from this part here, and it's a solo coming out. Something like that to stop the time, and that way he can shine. Because if I'm not careful and I'm doing this and he's trying to play a solo, what's going to happen? The focus is on me, and it's not going to sound very good. The focus is to be on Joe. So as a rhythm player, which Noah can talk to if you want to right now.
Well, it's really important to become a very good rhythm player. It's far more important to play rhythm than it is to play lead. Lead is really kind of a very egocentric thing. It's all about me and everything. But if your band, even if they're the most generous band on the planet, and they're like, we're going to give you the greatest solo, we're going to give you a minute to wank off, you still have to play rhythm for 4 minutes. Alright, so it's better to be a good rhythm player, because being a good rhythm player makes you listen to everybody else in the band. Alright, and if you're a very egocentric player and you're all about yourself, playing lead and stepping up front and being the man, you're really not interested in anybody else. So it makes you a terrible partner, in a sense, to play with. So it's far more important to play rhythm, because you fit in better with the rest of the band. Okay, so go that route, especially if you're a songwriter. Okay, leads accentuate songs. You don't write a song around a lead. You write a lead over a song, and it doesn't necessarily need one. Alright, so be very careful in the time that you have, and play over the chords as you're playing. You don't have to go nutso. I mean, it's fun. It really is, and that's what guitar players do. Alright, it's their job, in a sense, is to be like the man in certain types of bands. Alright, but be a better rhythm player, and you will get a lot more jobs as a guitar player.
There's a period in U.S. music where instrumental bands were the norm. Case in point is the Ventures, 2 guitars, drums, and bass, just like this format, except they needed a drummer. They had a dedicated rhythm guitar, which means that all they did was something like this. So that right hand is very, very important to get that chunk on 2 and 4. We're thinking of the drums, what they're doing, the chuck, that 2 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Your right hand needs to be accenting that. You can hear what I'm doing there, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And with the right hand, I can also do other type of accents. Stairway to Heaven, the riff there. And that's all with the right hand. If you take a look at what I'm doing, the count is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, or 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2. And if you look at my right hand as I'm playing, I always want to try and keep my right hand going as a pendulum. So I'm doing this, but now I can take my hand and I can accent those notes. I got a chance to hear Dizzy Gillespie one time do a clinic when I was going to school, and he had a marvelous technique where he was doing stuff with his hand, and he could actually, under a rhythm of like say this, he could accent those notes, without even playing with the trumpet. He could do something like this. So here's steady eighth notes, and he did something like this. So you can hear that dot, 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 dot underneath this little pattern like this. With your right hand, you want to kind of go, here's your rhythm, and just accent either down or up.
Guitar is a very percussive instrument, because this is perfectly legitimate if it fits into context with what's going on. all right, even if you know very little chords, and this is important, especially as a beginner, if all you know is like a G, a C, and a D, you can write an infinite number of songs with them because every time you pick up the guitar, you can change the rhythmic structure of what you're doing. And even though you're not doing anything different than hitting a G chord, you can do a bazillion things, anything you can think of rhythmically, steal rhythms. All right, just listen to your favorite song and listen to the rhythm of the song and steal the rhythmic structure of it. I tell my students to listen to marching snares. You know, I'm like, go listen to marching band. You know, listen to snare drum rolls and everything like that, and just take rhythms, because you only know a couple of chords, and that's not going to change until you start learning new chords. But rhythms, anything you can think of, you can come up with.
The thing I have here is be a good watcher. I mean, watch what's around you, going on the cues. You don't want to start playing like this when your solo comes up. You're going like this. You know, what else? What is there? Oh,
no, that's not. Do it again the other way.
Something like that, not exactly. But you get the idea. I'm looking here, I'm looking at the fretboard, I'm not paying any attention to what's going on with Joe, or Noah, or the drummer might be giving me a cue. You might want to do some stop time when we break and I have a solo. If I'm not paying attention, then it's going to sound bad. It's going to sound miserable. What's an example? Oh, an example. Dawn on the gig at my band does this tune. We do Beach Boys tune followed right into Hawaii 5-0. There's a big drum fill, so I go to Dawn like this, and he's going, what? So finally he got it after that. Like I said here, don't keep your head down, and looking at your fretboard, you're going to miss out seeing that everyone else is having a good time. You got to smile on stage too. You can't just be the Mr. Serious, Mr. Academic like myself. All right, be able to read a simple chord chart. What does a simple chord chart look like? I've got one right here. Actually, the three of us plus a drummer are doing a show on December 19th or 18th?
The Sunday.
Sunday, the 18th.
19th, 18th.
I did a Christmas surf album last year. We're doing a live rendition of that. But here, for example, is a chord chart of what they would be looking at, or the rhythm player or the guitar player. Notice there's no notes on here. I do have a key signature, I do have a meter signature, and I do have a treble clef. But that's all you need to know. Just when you're looking at your music, you're able to know where you are on this chord chart. It's really important in keeping up with your time and stuff. As an example, with my students, I will do a really simple progression, maybe something like this. I have this on the back of the page. It's, we take a look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down, where it goes C, D minor, E minor, F, and G. And that's the chord progression for like the Rolling Stone, which but if we're playing the chord progression like this, what I do with a lot of times with my students, I'll say, okay, play this. I have to do a solo, and I'll stop right here, and I'll say, what's my next chord? And they should know what the next chord is. They should know what chord they're on. They should know 2 chords beyond that. Because if you don't memorize your chord progression, then you're just playing junk. There's nothing that fits over those chords. For example, if I'm doing a standard pentatonic like this, a C major pentatonic against a C to a D minor, put it C, D minor, D minor. I'm doing my pentatonic, I hold there, D minor, and I play that note there. That note is not in my chord, it's in the standard pentatonic scale. C, I can play that, but this note does not sound good to get that chord. Play the D minor again. Hear that? I'm actually creating a jazz chord, which is a minor 9. Which doesn't sound good. So what you have to do, you have to say, okay, where are my chords? Where's my scale? How can I get that going so they match at the same time? There's the note that you want to get. Here's another example of more. Go ahead.
This is a big issue when people learn. The first thing they generally learn or get taught is this kind of box. That okay, and they play it from here to here. They go like that, which is the pattern, but it's not the scale. scale goes from note to note, or note to note if you play a major variety. So you need to learn the actual scale, memorize the pattern, but learn the scale within the pattern, and know that since you basically, this is a blues scale, what they use if you add that little flat 5 note in there for color. The problem is when you play the 1 chord, the A minor, every note works just fine for you, creating tension and release. You go to that 4 chord, that note that you have to hit to play the chord is not in the pattern. And this note you hit to add color. So you listen to your favorite guitar players and they play it solo, and you know it's blues solo. And you're like, what's that note? That's the best note I ever heard in my life. It's so amazing, it goes right to my soul. And it's the note that's just in the scale that goes over the chord. Okay? And they go over that, and you just can't find it because you don't know the scale itself. You just know the pattern.
Here's another example. Back to this. Let's see. Yeah, sure. Here's the guitar solo. That note there, I'm landing on an F chord. If I said, okay, I'm just going to stick to the straight scale, I'm going to get this. Play your F chord now. Oh, hear that?
No, you wind up with an F major 7, and nobody needs that.
But again, knowing where the chords are, where the scale is. If you take down a look a little bit later here on this, I talk about knowing your chord progression, but let's look at the 1-2 below that where it says, be able to see the chord shape within the scale. That's really important because usually what I teach my students is every time you have a chord progression, say it goes like this, this one back here we did, C, D minor, E minor, F, and G. Each time you change chords, you want to be able to sure hit that root note first because that's going to match up with your chord. It'll match up exactly. If you don't, it's going to have that off sound just like what I did with the stereo.
Example of that? So I'll play the chords.
Sure. Let's just do C, F, G, C.
What's the next chord?
L. Okay, here's my solo. Yeah, C. C scale, but my gosh, that sounded awful.
Terrible. It sounded like a jazz man.
But the point is, you know, my first chord was a C. Play a C chord for me. Here's my first note. Hey, it's in the scale. Look at this, man. It's right in the scale. But it's like it's the wrong note. It's a B. I need to be hitting a C. So a better effective solo would be. Let's do the same thing again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I did there is that every time the chord came around, I made sure that I hit the same note. And what I do for my students, I say, here's a real simple exercise, just like that. Just play the C scale going up, 8 notes. When we go to the F, play the C scale starting on F. Don't put a B flat on there, but just F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. So my first note matches up with the chord, and you can change directions too. I do something like this. And that fits over perfectly. Kind of like, you know, country, you can also do some stuff in between. Now, if you hit that first note correctly, then anything after that is going to sound fine. Let's do the same thing again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And with some chromatic notes in there like that, that's good. So it doesn't matter as long as I hit that C to begin with. I did stuff like this. So you have a standard country riff or jazz jazz riff or whatever, but you know, those are just chromatic notes, but my target note at the beginning of each measure is going to be the name of the chord. If you use that principle every time, your solos are going to sound fantastic. If not, they're going to sound like this. You know, yeah, the F, the F is right here under your fingers. Okay. The G7 is under your fingers, or the G if you want to do it this way. The A minor is under here. The diminished is under here. And back to the C again. So every one of my chords, save one, is going to be under my fingers. So you should be able to find the chord within the scale and the scale around the chord. And each time you do that, you know, you don't always have to play a scale. You can always run triads and things like that. That's 2 pounds.
Yeah.
Or
Right, so these are more difficult to play over because you need to have a little bit more knowledge of what you're doing to hit the correct note. Because you want to accent the upper register of that chord because that's the color. Okay, so you kind of need to know a little bit more from a basic standpoint. If someone's just hitting CFG, you can play CFG up here using the other forms, and as long as you know the scale shape that goes with the chord, you're never going to have a problem soloing over it. You get that? You want to try it? No? Not quite yet? Okay.
let's talk a little bit about
Is that
finding.
good?
That's perfect, man. That's perfect. Finding common ground. For example, all three of us come from different backgrounds. So Joe and I are about the same age, so we kind of come from the same background. He's a little younger, so he's kind of dropped a couple decades and missed out on some of the good stuff.
I didn't miss.
It's still
You missed
available.
out on some good stuff.
Yeah, too busy playing jazz.
Yeah, you was exactly too busy with minor 9 chords.
But what you want to try to do when you get together with somebody is, don't be afraid to share. Just get together, show them what you know. They can show you what they know. But a lot of times when you get together with somebody, you're not going to have a common knowledge. Noah might play metal, I might play jazz. How do you get together and make music? Otherwise it's going to sound like we're playing two different styles. Some of the things I have on here on the sheet, which we talked about, was the blues form. It's a very simple blues progression like CF and G7, or minor form, A minor, D minor, E minor, something like that. But there's also some common chord progressions that we find in songs. And these are good writing tools too. So if you take a look at the back of the sheet there, I've got some common chord progressions that you'll find. So we can use these either as building blocks to make a song, or we can use them as building blocks to jam. So for example, if we have something like F to G, typical rock and roll pattern. Songs in that vein, if we take it and shorten it, it becomes this.
Something I would like to talk about, and this is a big thing for guitar players. Guitar players are very intimidated very easily when they hear someone play really well. They're like, oh, I can't hang. This is one of the big problems. There's nothing wrong with just sitting back and playing rhythm, okay? Or if you have somebody like, when I play with Bob, I get very intimidated when I play with Bob. He's just a remarkable guitar player, okay? But, I have to get past that if I'm going to try to learn anything, all right, and play what it is that I can play, and I try and trust that Bob's not going to go, dude, you suck, all right. This is really important because the guitar player is very fragile, all right, and they will collapse under the dude, you suck, okay, thing. So don't say that to somebody. Like if I'm playing with somebody, or if Bob's playing with somebody, obviously he doesn't have the experience I have. Am I going to say you suck? To him, no. I'm going to try to build him up and teach him something so he can get better, okay, at it. So don't be afraid to just sit and play rhythm, or play the little thing that you can do over it, or say, hey, how do I do this a little bit better, okay?
And on the flip side of that, you know, if I'm the greatest guitar player in the world,
You are
I
the
might.
greatest guitar player. Bob Keefe, everyone. Bob Keefe.
What I have to do is I have to bring my ego, check my ego at the door, come down about 15 or 20 notches, and play.
Wow, that far?
Play to the ability of the person that's with me. Okay, I was showing off there, I was doing some fast stuff, big deal. But if I'm playing with somebody, for example you, and I can't really get those, my solo is going to be more like this. Same thing again, guys. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. The person I'm jamming with is not going to feel intimidated.
Right.
You know, you have to approach it. As a teacher, I do that all the time. I mean, I don't burn my solos in front of my students and say, match that. No, I don't do that. I back off a bit. I say, okay, let's see what you can do. I'll make suggestions. You know, build the person up that you're with, and there's a bonding agent.
Exactly.
Really
I tell my
important.
students to just, again, hit the root note on that. So if you're going like this, then you can find notes to connect these two to start explaining. So if I go, play that please.
Sure.
So I'm going, just hit that.
Right.
Now how do we connect them? And that's the start of melody. Okay, and when you play these slower lines that just connect the roots of the chords, you are actually forced to listen to what you're playing. Okay, and that's the most important thing. And most beginners or even intermediates that I know, they don't know how to listen because they're so enamored that they're, oh my God, look what I'm doing, I rock. They don't even pay attention to what they're playing. All right, so when you play, because they want to go, you know, like play 9 billion miles an hour. All right, but when you play these slow lines, you're forced to listen so you can hear that's not a good note, or that is a good note that I'm connecting with. Then your rhythm hand is going to control everything.
Just put a
Okay,
style
and you
right
just
over it.
plug there, exactly, insert style here. It really is like a Chinese menu. The column A is the chord progression, and column B, C, D, E, F through Z is whatever rhythm style you decide to put to it. All right? You're going to go home and you're going to listen to the radio, you're going to listen to the song, and you're going to hear this progression. You flip the dial. Go ahead, and you'll hear it. Within 5 minutes, you'll hear that progression over 50 different styles of music. Okay? Once you can do a thing, you can do a thing for the rest of your life. You just have to be inventive with it. And change the rhythm structure up, change the sound. The sound is going to inspire you. Okay, this is why people chase bazillion-dollar amplifiers and have 9 billion pedals on their thing to make the noise. The noise is going to inspire the trick. Okay, so if I have this, you know. So if I have this going on, and I have this going, it's going to make me play different because in order for it to do its thing. No, it's my bad. I changed the progression. Okay? But this is going to change it, okay, with what you do, which is why guitar players, because we're top instruments, we happen last. We think we happen first, but we happen last, okay? He happens first. Him and the drummer happen first. Okay, you don't build a house with the windows first.
Whenever you have two guitar players in a group, of course, there's balancing things like that.
No, he's louder than you.
No, for example, if we do that same progression, I want you to kill your echo there. We'll just do just same strum.
What do we do?
A minor, F, G.
Okay.
Okay. Listen to what happens when two guitar players play in the same register. Ready? 1, 2,
Turn the
3,
prods around.
4. Starting to sound mushy, right? So one of the things you can do as a guitarist as you learn progressions more and more up the neck, the same chords, if he stays in that position and I have the opportunity to go higher, and what I usually try to tell my students is your progression goes down to make your chords go up. So let's do the same thing again. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. It sounds larger than, or more than the sum of our parts here, because I've taken that second guitar part or the first guitar part and expanded it. That way it's not much underneath like that.
A lot of people that are into like new styles of music, the craze in the rock and metal world right now is down tuning. So they make these low tunings and the cookie lyrics and everything like that. And what's happening is that all of these, the guitars are now in the bass register, and the bass is now in the drum register. So now there's nothing. There's no expansion, and you just have this mush. The bandwidth is gone, so everything sounds like mush. All right, and everybody's playing the exact same line. So there's none of this. It's all this. It's terrible sounding. It's awful for me. The worst thing that ever possibly happened to music, is drop C tuning. All right, there's no point.